Get ready for a shocking ride through the dark corners of the prison world. In today's video, we are uncovering the chilling stories of 7 child molesters who met their gruesome end behind bars. These criminals thought they could escape justice, but fate had other plans. Stay tuned as we unravel the twisted tales of brutal vengeance and reveal how these predators became the prey. Number 1. Shane Goldsby found himself in an unlikely situation when he discovered that his cellmate at Washington State Prison was Robert Munger, the 70-year-old man who had sexually assaulted his sister. Munger was serving a 43-year-old sentence for multiple charges of child molestation and first-degree child rape. Goldsby was in prison for a 2017 incident involving fleeing from police officers and ramming his car into a patrol vehicle. Goldsby was shocked to find himself in the same situation, pod, and cell as his sister's abuser. His anger grew, and he considered killing Munger. Goldsby attempted to get prison officials to change his cellmate, but was dismissed. Munger later began describing details of his crimes to Goldsby, pushing him to his breaking point. Goldsby hit the emergency button in his cell, but no one responded. He then proceeded to beat Munger to death, hitting him nearly 15 times in the head and face and stomping on his head before walking away. Munger was found dead. After being convicted of killing Munger, Goldsby was given a 24-year sentence. The circumstances surrounding the incident were so controversial that Goldsby appeared in interviews, recounting his experience. Number 2. In October 2022, Juan Villanueva was sentenced to life in prison for the aggravated sexual assault of a child under the age of 14. However, in February 2023, Villanueva was found unresponsive in his cell, having been attacked and killed by his cellmate, Ramon Escobar. Escobar was serving a life sentence without parole at North Kern State Prison after pleading guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder in 2018. He had killed 5 people, including his aunt and uncle, during a 1-month murder spree before being apprehended by the police. Escobar had a history of attacking people while they slept, often using heavy weapons to bludgeon his victims. It is unclear how he killed Villanueva, but the 2 men were at the reception center awaiting placement into the state prison system. Prison officials discovered Villanueva during routine checks and attempted to resuscitate him, but he did not survive. Following the incident, Escobar was moved to restricted housing as investigations continued to determine what occurred and possibly charge him in court for his crime. Number 3. Nicholas Anderson became the 3rd casualty of Rocky Allen Beeman's spree targeting sex offenders in prison. Anderson was incarcerated as a sex offender when Beeman took his life on January 22, 2017. Authorities discovered him strangled and his neck slashed with an improvised weapon. Beeman had openly proclaimed his hatred for sex offenders and vowed to continue killing them until he was sentenced to death row. In May 2018, he even penned a letter to Christopher Patterson, a 14th District Judicial Circuit judge, stating that slaying sex offenders provided the best feeling he had experienced in a long time. Beeman also pledged to persist in eradicating every sex offender he encountered until one of 3 outcomes occurred. He was killed, he exhausted his supply of targets, or he was placed on death row, where he could no longer harm anyone. Beeman even informed the judge that he would dedicate his subsequent killing to him unless he was assigned to death row. In 2012, Beeman murdered registered sex offender Brian Hunsicker. He stalked him for several days within the prison before cornering him in the shower and proceeding to stab and choke him. Reports indicate that Beeman stabbed Hunsicker up to 80 times. Prior to these killings, Beeman was serving a life sentence for murdering a woman, but ultimately received a death sentence. Stay with us as we reveal the chilling details of these notorious cases. And don't miss the bone-chilling twist in our final story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the dark and unforgiving world of the prison system. Number 4. Liam Dean from Wakefield, West Yorkshire, England, was convicted of murdering his 2-day-old daughter, Luna, in July 2017. Dean pleaded guilty to the murder after Luna suffered several injuries, including a broken skull and multiple broken ribs. The trial revealed that Dean assaulted Luna while her mother was sleeping, punching her in the face and squeezing her arms and body while shaking her vigorously. Initially denying responsibility, Dean later confessed to the murder. Dean committed the crime while looking after Luna, giving her mother some time to sleep. However, he became enraged by her crying and violently attacked her. After realizing what he had done, Dean called his partner and an ambulance, but Luna passed away after 3 days. Dean confessed to the crime during police questioning and was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 17 years in October 2017. However, his cellmate, John Westland, killed the 22-year-old, claiming that he thought Dean was a sex offender. Before his death, other prisoners threatened Dean and called him a baby killer. Westland attacked him with a shard of broken glass from an aftershave bottle, leaving Dean in a pool of blood. Westland was serving time for raping and assaulting a woman. Number 5. Matteo Condalucci, a former nightclub bouncer convicted of child molestation twice, was murdered by self-proclaimed vigilante James Fairbanks on May 14, 2020. Condalucci had previously served 5 years in jail for sexually assaulting a 5-year-old boy in Florida in 1994, and 2 years for raping a 13-year-old girl in Nebraska in 2007. After being released, Condalucci lived a normal life, unaware that he was being monitored by Fairbanks. Fairbanks, a divorced schoolteacher and father of 2, shot Condalucci 7 times in his home, killing him instantly. The incident sparked nationwide controversy, with some supporting Fairbanks' actions and others deeming them unjustified. Fairbanks confessed to the crime in an anonymous letter sent to KMTV, a television station in Nebraska. Notably, some of Condalucci's victims and their families supported Fairbanks, the mother of his 1994 victim who died of a drug overdose after a tumultuous life, and Condalucci's daughter, Amanda Henry, who revealed that she had been repeatedly abused and molested by her father, were both happy about the killing. Fairbanks was sentenced to 40 to 70 years in prison on July 14, 2021. Number 6. Jeffrey Epstein, an American financier and convicted sex offender, was accused of multiple sex offenses involving underage girls. He first came under investigation in 2005 when a 14-year-old girl reported that he had assaulted her. In 2008, Epstein was indicted on charges of soliciting prostitution from minors, pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges, and was sentenced to 18 months in jail. However, he only served 13 months under a controversial plea deal. In July 2019, Epstein was arrested again on charges of sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking. These charges stemmed from allegations that he abused dozens of girls as young as 14 at his homes in New York City and Palm Beach, Florida, between 2002 and 2005. Despite rumors of him leading a prostitution operation involving underage girls, Epstein pleaded not guilty. He was held without bail while awaiting trial and was found dead in his cell in August 2019. Epstein's official cause of death was suicide by hanging, though some have questioned the circumstances. It is speculated that had he lived, he would have faced a worse fate in prison due to his reputation as a child sex offender. The possibility that this motivated his actions is unknown, and there appears to be an unspoken rule in prison that child sex offenders should be targeted, beaten, and even killed. Number 7. Michael Peach was arraigned in a Trumbull County courthouse following his conviction on 18 crimes, including gross sexual imposition, abduction, and felonious assault. Peach worked as a supervisor at the victim's mother's medical billing firm. He sexually molested the youngster and videotaped the event after utilizing his position to become acquainted with the victim. He had this to say about himself.
I can only pray for forgiveness and, that I alone, no matter what sentence I get, I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life anyway. It's something I'll never forget. And, if I could take it back, obviously I would. Unfortunately, I can't.
Trumbull County Judge Ronald Rice described him as a monster, classic pedophile, and predator, and sentenced him to 48 years in jail.